All right, let's get straight into the Suzuka Grand Prix, the Japanese Grand Prix. There's a lot to talk about right here. The politics, the bad decisions from McLaren. Max Verstappen, he won. And let's be clear, he earned it. But while he's celebrating up there, grinning with the champagne, I'm here scratching my head because the story of today isn't that Verstappen won this. It's that McLaren lost today. And plain and simple, handed it over like a badly wrapped birthday present.
Walsh running the Irish green, and look at the move. He's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front from fifth all the way to the lead in lap one.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter Walsh.
Now, before we get into it, lads, before the whole weekend even started, there was something dodgy in the air. I called it. I spoke about this. Yuki Tsunoda, suddenly Red Bull's best buddy, best friend, new teammate to Max Verstappen. They dumped Liam Lawson after 2 races, which was absolutely scandalous. And it felt too convenient, didn't it? A Japanese driver in a Red Bull car with Honda engines at the Japanese Grand Prix. By the way, Honda are leaving at the end of the year. They've had a great relationship with Red Bull. And I can tell you now, even Christian Horner said it. He doesn't want them to go. He doesn't want them to go. Why would he? He's done so well with them for the last 4 years, right? You don't want to fix something that's not broken. And, okay, I did call it wrong, by the way. I was thinking that Yuki Tsunoda would have a better result than this. I thought they'd put everything into him and get him right up there and give him all the attention. So, I'll put my hands in the air, lads. I was wrong on that one. But didn't actually pan out too bad, huh? Now, what's happened here? And this is, and you know, believe me, lads, I'm coming from all the experience I know from racing, and I've seen the politics. It can stink to high heaven. What's going on here is that now Christian Horner is hoping that Honda will stay in the game. He doesn't want them gone. He's praying. He's on his knees. He's hoping now that this has wet their beak, right? Which this is this is a business at the end of the day, and Christian Horner's got to keep the lights on, pay the bills, pay the wages. So for him, this was hopefully the flag in the ground. Stay with us, lads, and we're going to win more. You know? And I tell you, Honda may even start thinking twice about this. You know, you start winning, the champagne's flying, bubbling, everybody's high as a kite. It's an unbelievable, it's a drug feeling. So, you know, maybe Honda aren't through yet. But let's bring it back to McLaren, lads. That's the real story here today. It really genuinely is. It's the heartbreak. And the race was theirs to lose. And they bloody well lost it, man. They really did. 3, count them 3, golden chances to win this Grand Prix. And they blew every single one. They could have got Piastri on pole. They could have got Lando Norris on pole. They didn't. They could have beaten Verstappen in the pit stops. They could have stepped on the gas a little quicker. Remember, it was 2 against 1 today. Now, don't get me wrong. Verstappen did brilliant. You know why he got it on pole? Because he was the last man standing. He was the last guy out on the track. And guys, 99.99% of the time in qualifying, if you're the last guy over the finish line before the flag drops to stop it, you're going to get on pole, or at least you're gaining an advantage, because the more rubber that gets laid down on the track, the grippier the track is. The grippier the track is, the quicker you're through the corners, therefore you get a quicker lap time. So this is exactly what happened today. Now, yes, they took off some downforce on the car. In other words, the back wing, they went quicker down the straight. Now, the only reason why they did that is because they had a lot of grip. They had to lose grip. That happens all the time. So they had a load of grip, and they went, you know what? If we take off the downforce here, lads, we'll go faster down the straight. We've got plenty of grip, so let's get rid of it. And if we get out on track, last man will have more grip than what you normally will. And they knew it, and they banked it, and it was brilliant. Absolute brilliance. Now, you could argue with me too, well, isn't this their job? Yes, it is. But, I gotta say, the fact that I think as well that what's going on here is that they're trying to adjust as well from Adrian Newey gone last year. Now I know, look, that was last year, and, get over it. But you gotta move on. But, they're pacing themselves here. They're pacing themselves. And they're not cracking under the pressure. I mean, think about it. They've been dominating for the last 4 years. And all of a sudden they're struggling, and they know it. They know they're not the fastest car right now. So it shows the grit of Red Bull, and I have to say, and I've always said this about Christian Horner, these guys have got balls, man. They're persistent. They stay in the game, and that's what you want. They're not crackling, oh my God, we're nowhere now, what the hell? Or they haven't fallen asleep at the wheel here. They found a way to win. And they outsmarted McLaren completely. So yes, lads, if Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, if one of them was the last to cross the line instead of Verstappen, they would have put it on pole. I'm telling you now. That's what would have happened. But okay, here's where McLaren's nightmare deepens. We've seen this move before, haven't we? I mean, last season they were sniffing around Red Bull for the constructors fight. They had momentum. They had two fast drivers, and what did they do? They let them trip over each other. They let their egos and poor decisions cost them points last year. In Hungary last year, we had Lando Norris in second position, trying to hunt down Max Verstappen with his huge lead in the championship. So right there and then, Lando Norris was McLaren's best chance to win the Drivers' Championship. And what did they do at Hungary? Lando Norris is ahead of Piastri, but no. Let's let Piastri through. I still can't get over that. I genuinely can't. And then, this is happening again. And when I say this is happening again, the cracks are there. There's something missing, or there's a fly in the ointment in McLaren. They're not firing on all cylinders. Now, qualifying was the first shot. McLaren had the pace to put it on pole. They had it. It was all done and looked like we've seen Verstappen. He nails it. They didn't force him into a mistake, Piastri and Norris, they didn't force Verstappen into any mistakes. Nothing. Even in the race, they were putting pressure on him, but no mistakes. And what really twists the knife is that isn't a Red Bull demolition job that we've seen in the past. Verstappen was under a bit of pressure today, all right? He wasn't cruising. He had to work for it today, I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been in that situation where you've got two guys up your ass, and it's tough, You can't put one foot wrong. So he was in a vulnerable position, especially at the end when the tires were fading. But by then, it was too late. McLaren had already thrown their chances away. And the bitter truth, lads, Verstappen, he didn't win this race today because he was invincible. All right, he wasn't. And he won it because McLaren handed it to him on a silver platter. And by the way, I'm not taking anything away from Red Bull fans here and Verstappen fans, all right, and Verstappen himself on the team. I'm not. But sometimes, in racing or even golf, sometimes winning. So it's all still winning at the end of the day. But it just shows you, I think in a little way, I wouldn't say they bottled it, McLaren, because it's not the championship winning decider here. But we are at the third round here, and like I said, they're showing cracks. Like Red Bull are playing 4D chess with Honda. Verstappen wins in Honda's backyard. Tsunoda quietly plays the mascot role. You think they didn't get noticed in the Honda boardroom? Of course they did. They've got a lot to fight for here except winning races, Yes, it was about winning a race today, but it was about holding on to Honda. Now look, lads, I genuinely want McLaren to do really well, okay? I really do. I want them to succeed. Mightn't sound it like it, but I'm calling it what it is. I genuinely do want them to win. And I wanted Norris to win last year. In fact, to be honest, I want Piastri to win at this stage. Now, I was hoping for Alonso and Adrian Newey, but they're nowhere yet. They're nowhere at the races, so I don't know what's going on with them. But I want Piastri to win the championship. Therefore, I want McLaren to win the championship, And But right now, they're looking like the kid who studied the wrong exam. You know, the deer in the headlights sort of scenario here, and all the potential, none of the execution. They keep tripping over their own shoelaces here, lads. And if they don't figure this out fast, Verstappen and Red Bull are going to be out of sight before we get to the summer break. And you can bet your house that Honda were watching today, watching Verstappen, bringing it home and thinking, maybe we should stay a little longer here. So here's the final word, lads. Verstappen didn't win the Japanese Grand Prix. He accepted it. And hey, if anybody's in that position, you're goddamn right you accept it. McLaren lost it today. Red Bull played a deeper game, a psychological game here. Not just winning races, but keeping their engine partners as well in line and maybe in check for next year. McLaren, you better look at yourselves in the mirror tonight, honestly. They should be, especially Zach Brown, because races like this are where championships are lost. And it can all come down to 1 point. They had the car, they had the drivers, 2 against 1. They had the opportunities, and they blew it. Wake up, McLaren, before it's too late.
Walsh running the Irish green, and look at the move he's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front from 5th all the way to the lead in lap 1.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter Walsh.